Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon.
Is this thing on?
Yeah. So this is great. We've wanted Lena to come on to the show since we started this. Texted you a couple of times, trying to make it work. So it's good that we got you here.
Yes.
Oh, she's very important, very busy. Doesn't have a lot of time to do this kind of thing.
Right. And I run into you at Pine Valley a couple of times. Say, hey, let's get on let's get in the studio. No, we do start every episode with a little bit of intro, like topic before I introduce you. I wanted you on this topic because I think that in your world it may be relevant as well. And so the administration had just said that they're bringing everybody in from remote to be fully in office.
You're talking about government employees, federal government?
Federal government employees.
Yeah.
And,
no more remote work.
Yeah. And I'm just interested in this because when during COVID and everything, my friends and all that stuff, they were going all remote.
Yeah.
And now, you see like San Francisco, there's empty buildings.
Yes.
Now these buildings probably are going to be filling back up because people are starting to go to work, and the kids out of school, they don't want remote. They want to go somewhere. They want to do something. Mm-hmm. And I have friends too. They're like half and half. Like they'll travel, but then they'll work remote. So I'm interested to hear what you guys think about this.
Oh, I just one quick thought about it. My youngest daughter, works remotely. She works for Kellogg's, in the Battle Creek company. And she lives north of Grand Rapids. So she's a good hour at least north of Kellogg's. And there is conversation going on now about having everybody come back to work. Mm-hmm. So 2 little kids at home. And now she's going to have to potentially try and figure out, how do I navigate that? How do I take an hour and 15 minutes to get there, hour and 15 minutes home every day, 2 kids, a husband? I mean, there are some challenges that come with this idea. People have kind of scattered and can live wherever they want, but all of a sudden now you got to go back to the office. Uh-oh.
Well, and it's so quick, right? It's like went from all remote, and then now it's like, no, you got to be in the office. And you're like, oh shoot.
Yeah. No, I have all kind of thoughts on it because one, it's why the labor market is a global competitive landscape now, because people can work anywhere in your job. And so the competition isn't just Fort Wayne, it's global when there's a remote job. So that broadens the opportunities for a company to hire people, but it also increases the competition for that particular job. I think the challenge is, and we see it when the kids that grew up through the pandemic, if you've never have experienced the corporate culture, if you don't know and you've never practiced communication and collaboration in a setting amongst your peers, and you move right into that and you've been remote for a very long time, and then you've asked to come back to an environment that you've never practiced, you're going to find people that don't have the same skill sets that you expect them to have because they haven't been engaging in that way.
That's a good point. Someone brought up in one of our previous podcasts, like social anxiety and having like you're working by yourself all day. Now you're going to like 10 to 15, 100 people, working with them. That's got to be a difference too.
Yeah. But, I'm a big believer that, people on site, that's how you create culture. And culture trumps everything. And so it's very, very hard to create culture remotely. So I understand where the companies are coming from.
Oh, this will be the last thing I say about it. Is like, but you brought up the hiring aspect. You can, with the remote, you can hire from wherever in U.S. Now you're like, all right, well, I got this Fort Wayne area. I got this Michigan area. It's
speaking of that, so the other day I was talking to the TV service provider that we have at home, and I'm talking to this guy. I mean, they're notorious for hiring people in other countries, right? I'm talking to this guy, and he made a comment to me, and he goes, have you ever been to Egypt? No. He goes, well, you really need to come here. I'm like, you're serious? You're in Egypt? And he was. He was in. I've never spoken to somebody like that.
Yeah.
I mean, Asia, yes,
Right.
but not Egypt. It was just really,
Yeah.
that was
And
really
those,
surprising.
you guys were in the same time zone that he was able to at least talk to you. It wasn't.
I didn't ask him what time. I thought about that. Like,
So he could actually have been in his pajamas and really should been in bed.
yeah, probably.
You know.
I mean, I don't know what time it is in Egypt at the moment.
I
but
don't either.
I'm guessing it's way different than it is here.
Yeah.
Well, good thing you didn't ask for the supervisor because he'd be like, well,
Yeah.
supervisor's probably sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in Morocco.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
So let's introduce Lena. I don't want to say your last name wrong, but Lena Yarian.
Yarian. Yep.
Yarian.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
the first name is Lena.
Lena.
Yeah.
So we
Right.
got it all straightened out there.
It's close enough.
know.
Yeah.
Is that a American name or?
No, my parents were from Scandinavia.
Okay.
So it's a
She
Scandinavian-
was in ABBA. You know the band ABBA? She was in ABBA.
That's
She was
it.
like- yeah.
That's not what it was.
Very musically inclined.
Yes. Yes. Now we got some instruments here.
Yes.
If you need-
Oh, I shouldn't have mentioned that. You know, I keep that really on the low.
Okay.
You're not going to sing Dancing Queen for us later?
You know, you don't pay me enough for that.
It's not a very high paying job here.
So most well known for junior achievement of Northeast Indiana. That's
Not
how
for my musical abilities.
right.
Huh?
That's
Okay.
that's how I met you. At least
Yes.
I don't know about the other stuff.
Yeah.
But, super impactful what you've done. I always talk to my mom about junior achievement when I was growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing the difference from then to now is huge. And the market of the youth and trying to build a program that works for them, but works for the workforce
Yeah.
is a hard job, I'm sure. So outside of that, that intro, do you want to dive into like where you started, where your childhood, you know, I know you mentioned that, your father had a big impact on you, and I kind of want to hear how you got to junior achievement.
Sure. So, you know, it's interesting. I think now I realize that it was just like the perfect match is the reason why I've been there so long. So my dad, Danish, you know, came over because America was a land of opportunity. The free enterprise system, you know, valued it. So came over here in a farm program. They were looking for people to help with the farms over here at that time in the 50s. He grew up on a farm, and him and his brother came over, and he just loved it. And so went back to Denmark to get a visa. In the interim, while working, met my mom in Sweden. And so he came back over to work, and then she kind of followed to see if she was in love, and that kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Just saying.
What about his
Right.
brother? Did his brother stick
His
around
brother
too?
went back to in Denmark, and you know these are traditions. The oldest takes over the farm, and he was the oldest, and so he was expected to take over the farm, but then his younger brother did instead, and came over and started a business, and you know that's the value of the free enterprise system, right? You can do things and reap the rewards of those things you do.
Yeah. What kind of business was it?
He was in a plumbing and heating
Okay.
business. Yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
yeah.
So yeah, was there any animosity with the family in Denmark coming here or anything?
You know, I think they were disappointed that but they made a real priority to make sure that they would take us kids back enough, and so they lived in a trailer. I mean, not only in a trailer, they lived in a trailer right beside a railroad track. Surprised that all four of us
Your
still
dad's
alive.
family.
Our family here when we lived in Liado.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so they didn't have much money, yet they would commit to taking
you
the kids over
back to Denmark.
Wow.
Yeah, so there were four of us, and so it wasn't a cheap deal.
Right.
but
So
they did
you
it.
had 3 other siblings and in a trailer layout.
Yeah, I was fortunate that when I was born, I was there a very short period of time, and then they built the house.
Okay.
So
I remember
think-
you telling me that you were once living above the sitting bull at
Well, my
Liado.
dad lived above the sitting bull and slug kegs part time when he was working on the farm.
Great wings in Leato. We have a business right by there, and I would go to the Sit and Bowl. So when she said that, I was like, that's interesting.
Yes, yeah. So Leato wasn't a very big town, so.
Yeah. So you went to school near Leato or?
I actually went to Garrett.
Garrett? Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I was just saying I visited Garrett High School, and it is phenomenal.
It's a great high school.
I mean, they have we'll get into this, but trade skills. I know Lena's big in that, and they had 50 kids in the trade school program. It was impressive.
Yeah. They have a really impressive program. They actually have the kids build a house as part of their experience.
Right.
So.
Oh, yeah. They build a house a year. So they've been doing it for 50 years.
So every school year they build a house?
Yeah. They built like 50 houses.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
In this little, what is it, like a
great
neighborhood
skill
over there
to
or
have.
something?
Yeah, they buy a plot of land and they built in various places in Garrett. But yeah, they're done a great job.
And then did they put the house up for sale? So they actually made money on this.
Yes, but there's a lot of people that give a lot of in-kind time to work with the kids. And so it's just a partnership, like all good things.
Yep. Yeah, very
So
cool.
your father, I read, Andrea made some notes for us.
Oh,
so
good.
that's
Okay.
Yeah. She mentioned that your father had given, or you had a job, a waitress job or something, and you were putting money into stocks or something
Well,
like
you
that.
know, like all high school kids, I had would rather have taken my tip money and used it to buy cute clothes. He wasn't such a fan. And so he made me take my tip money and buy stocks so that I could pay for college. So Virginia
that
Electric
is so
Power.
awesome that he did that.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, I
Yes.
picked the stock because it had the highest dividend. And then he told me I had to reinvest the dividends. It's like, well, okay.
Smart man.
Yeah, well,
I love it.
that was
Yeah,
so
there was
disappointing.
It was
Yeah.
some utility somewhere.
Yeah.
Virginia, maybe? Where was it?
Yeah, it must be Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember reading that now.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's got a 3% dividend. I'm gonna use them. I'm gonna
I
do
know.
it.
I think I at least gonna get something back from
Yeah.
this, but
Yeah.
no.
So do you still own that stock?
No, I don't. I had to sell it all to pay for college.
Yeah. Oh, so you used it for school?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's I love that story.
Yeah.
And that circles into junior achievement,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you're trying to do financial literacy.
Absolutely. And that, I feel really blessed. I didn't at the time. I felt like, boy, you have a lot of rules. But those rules are actually what create habits, and habits are what create good budgeting and financial wellness ultimately is,
Right.
don't spend more than you make.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of people could learn from that was just having a little bit of structure.
And write that down. Don't.
Yeah, write it
Yeah,
down.
no, it's a difficult one. Yeah. But and the idea that if you start anything young, what it can do for your future is immeasurable, right? And so, but a lot of kids just don't have that exposure. And
Yeah.
so if when I'm talking to the kids, it's like, you want to talk about budgeting? It's like, no. It's like, you want to talk about if you could be a millionaire? Would you like to be a millionaire? Like, heck yeah. I was like, okay.
Right.
Then you got their attention. It's like, well, you start young. Those are all opportunities for you.
And it's manageable. Like as a parent, putting in like $20 a month or $100, whatever it is, and it compounds till they're like 50, they're doing okay.
They're all
Yes.
set.
They're set,
Yep.
and so you're thinking ahead, and then you pass it along to your next generation, and I think that helps a ton.
Yeah.
So tell me more a little bit about, you said you were a waitress.
Yes.
Tell us more
An
about
early morning waitress, as
Yeah.
I recall.
I did. I waitress because my dad, he had a very principled man, work ethic. And so I waitress from 5 a.m. till 7 a.m. before school. I went to school smelling like pancakes and syrup. That was either good or bad. I don't know. And if I did that, then I could be in volleyball or things after school.
Nice.
So
That made a long day.
it made, yes.
Wow.
But they're, opportunities that I wouldn't have had not
If you hadn't done it.
figured out
Yeah.
how to do it,
Yeah.
how to make it happen.
So then you went from high school doing that to IPFW.
Yep.
Which is now Purdue Fort Wayne.
Yep.
What'd you study there?
Communications and business.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Did you work throughout
I
that?
worked throughout college, yeah.
At the restaurant? 5
No,
o'clock in the
I
morning?
worked at a place in the mall called Coffee, Tea, and Thee, and then a little bit at the Rustic Hutch.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So now some of that, what I guess I'm getting to is what led you to the JA part of things.
So I had a coworker who had worked for Junior Achievement, and she knew they were hiring. So this is how my predecessor was. He goes, "Yeah, come work for us a half a day, and we'll see if we like you." So he got 4 hours free, and I'm like, "Okay, are you going to offer me the job or not?" And I'm like,
I can't keep doing this,
yeah,
right?
He's like, "Yeah, this is interesting. That was fun, but yeah, you going to pay me?"
Right.
So but what I found was that it was an opportunity to. They gave you a lot of responsibility, but a lot of freedom to accomplish it. And I was not one of those people that wanted to start out as an assistant to an assistant and then be an assistant and then a branch manager. And then that very linear path just seemed exhausting.
Right.
And so being able to do something and use your creativity and energy, and that was what they expected, that was fun for me.
So where was that when you started? Where was the building or the organization?
Yes, it was in Noble Drive.
Okay.
It was built in '72.
Okay.
That building.
So older building.
Older building.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, over
But
there
it's-
behind Northcrest Shopping Center.
Yes. It's surprising that TJ Maxx actually survived after we moved to Wallen Road, because I was a pretty constant customer.
Yeah. Right.
My big treat was, oh, it's Saturday and I'm working. Oh, woe is me. I'll go buy myself something.
Right.
So
Well, this
not
is
so great on the financial literacy aspect, but whatever.
This is a little bit off topic, but
Yeah.
what happened? What'd you do with that building?
We sold it.
It did get sold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's an autism center.
Oh, is it?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, that kind of brings it back to what I remember of Jay. I remember
Yeah.
people coming into school and going to that building. And what I remember mostly is like that group involvement where you're like in a group setting. And that was me through college too. I was in a group setting the whole time, which helped benefit me just now being able to talk with people in the office and things like that. So where are we today? Are we doing a lot of the same things?
you talked about the group setting and how you've learned to manage that, and it goes back to what one of the most, I think, impactful things we're doing today is 3DE by Junior Achievement. And if you aren't familiar, I've never thought I'd have the opportunity to be a part of something that is helping to transform how students learn in high school. And it's just been probably the most exciting thing I ever had the opportunity to be a part of. It is ingraining with kids those core competencies that are super important: collaboration, communication, culture, agility, creativity, and innovation. Those things that are demanded of people every day, no matter if they're going to work, enlistment, if they're into college, they're needed. And they're needed every day, yet it isn't what schools celebrate. Schools are designed by nature to celebrate academic achievement. But when you can celebrate those things that really all kids can acquire,
Right.
not all kids are going to get an A and not all kids will get a B, but all kids can work on these things, and you start to celebrate those, you start to raise up kids that normally wouldn't be celebrated every day.
Yep.
And so now these kids are engaging in school.
When I think about myself in that situation, not so good at math,
Yeah.
but good at the group setting.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, and we've said this on the podcast. I think it was Brenda said it. She was like, let's build, or maybe Barbara, let's build the strengths, not build the weaknesses. Let's focus on the strengths.
Right. Yes.
And so, you're hounding math, you're hounding these lectures and all these things, and then all of a sudden, you get lost in it.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
if you're a good collaborator, you'll just go find someone as good as math and then you hang with them. Right?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So this 3DE though, I did the what's his name that was kind of leading that. for you
with
guys?
Pat Morello?
Yeah, Morello. I talked to him about it, and it's really neat 3DE stands for?
Three-dimensional education.
Right. So you take a business organization, like say ours, you have a corporation that's manufacturing, and you bring a team in from that manufacturing, and you teach these, not teach, but like lead these students through this design to build situation where, you know, back in the day, JA would be like, all right, we're going to give you this, or you guys figure out what product you want to use or make, and you guys sell it. You guys are the entrepreneurs, but now you have these business leaders that are like helping you kind of essentially do that.
Yeah.
And it's really neat.
Well, talk a little bit more about that, Lena, because the kids go to the businesses, right? I mean,
Yeah, the goal is that, at least one business visit a year. Early on, we were able to take the kids out to multiple in their year. So they went to Franklin Electric, they went to the Muro Center and learned about all the jobs at Parkview. They've been to universities now. They've been to Fort Wayne Metals, and they've got to see and experience the jobs. And, you know, these kids haven't even been in an office environment, nonetheless on a factory floor, and to see this, you know, $1 million piece of equipment that someone has a responsibility to use. And that's a lot of responsibility.
Right.
So yeah, very impressive, and the kids are just, so there, just a quick story. We had a young student that went to, the class went to Fort Wayne Metal. And I don't know, you haven't experienced this yet because your kids aren't old enough, but a lot of times kids come home from their day and you say, what did you learn or what did you do? It was like, not much.
Nothing.
Nothing. But this young lady was so excited about what she saw at Fort Wayne Metal, so excited that ultimately her mom applied
Oh my gosh.
and got a job.
Wow.
And then ultimately her dad applied and got a job. Because that's how excited she was about what she saw and experienced.
Right.
And when they talk about Steel Dynamics, the kids didn't even know who Steel Dynamics was. I mean, huge company.
Right.
And they didn't even know. I mean, you know, they...
never even heard of it.
No, and now there's like, oh, Steel Dynamics. Oh, they're all about family. I mean, they've done a deep dive. They know their culture. They know what they do. They know that they hire a nurse as well as hire engineers, as well as hire people that work on the floor. They're getting that deep into the companies and the opportunities for them.
Yeah.
So,
And it's so nice to not just see the logo or the name.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, what do they do?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure people
Right.
drive by your building and I'm like,
Yeah.
cool building.
Yeah. Or do they do laser skin surgery? Do they do laser laser tag?
Well, you put a bunch of signs out in front.
did,
We,
I
we
did.
all know
I
what
saw
you
that.
do now.
Yeah, I got tired of people calling me like, do you guys do laser skin removal?
Interesting.
But
So, Lena, hey, along those lines with 3DE, how are you able to measure outcomes? Are you doing that, or is it too
Yeah.
early to do that? Because 3DE has only been in place now for what, 4 years?
Well, in Fort Wayne, but you know, we were fortunate. Others in several states have had 3DE before us, and it was
okay.
developed by Junior Achievement in Atlanta. So we had their statistics, and we knew what the expectations would be if you implement the 3DE with fidelity. So then you'll see graduation rates and increase. So our first year at Northside, freshman year, we saw an entire grade point average change just in that 1 year. I mean, yeah, they are on track to have a 90% graduation rate at Northside High School next year, and they can measure this by knowing the number of credits the kids are on right now, and they'll be on track to graduate. So you're seeing things that the outcomes are surpassing our expectations.
and their program is through freshman through senior?
Yes.
Wow. Wow. So yeah, you're trying to get longevity there, you know?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know the thing is, and now these kids graduate what we call with, you know, it's the diploma and these soft skills, so twice the learning.
Right.
And now they know what's going on in these amazing businesses and opportunities for them, both locally for education and then locally for employment. So if we can work on that brain drain and keep kids here and excited,
That's
matters.
That's a huge topic because I've told people this story. I was on the wait list for Purdue University, and my mom had the idea of like, how do we maybe don't go undecided? Go to one of the advisors. And so I went to one of the advisors, and I had a newspaper clip of a business that I started in high school, and I mailed it in to the advisor, and she returned and said, "You're in."
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah. And so like it's like things like that, the 3D. It's like, well, I'm actually doing this as well. And I did this, and it might get them into that school or into that job.
Well, if you go to an interview and you talk to the employers like, oh, does collaboration matter? How important is effective communication within your company? You start to talk about those things that are like, as an employer, is like, interesting. This student's on top of it, right?
Right.
Well, I've been practicing those things. I've done it for the last 4 years, and we're actually developed a credential, and micro credentials, so the kids can kind of prove their mastery of these things.
Okay.
What does that look like?
It's online, and so and they basically take assessments, and through interactive videos, they showcase that they have now they can identify and speak to these things that they've been practicing in school.
Yeah, awesome. I heard Dr. Daniel, Mark Daniel, superintendent of schools, Fort Wayne Schools, talking about 3DE, and he was extremely pleased with the outcomes. And can you talk a little bit about how he feels and what his thoughts are?
Well, we were just very blessed to have him in his leadership spot and willingness to, because it's a lot of work. When you're talking, you're going to change how teachers teach in the school. That's a lot of work. And he was willing to embrace it. And he's always been a proponent of getting the businesses aligned with what the schools are aligned with.
Yep.
Together, and then you're working towards the same end. So that was just brilliant. So he was just all excited. He saw the outcomes. He knew that could happen in his school systems, and so he embraced it.
Yeah.
Is there a product like that you can tell us about that one of these students have done? A cool product?
Yeah, so freshman and sophomore year, they basically work on case challenges for companies. The businesses have a real relevant case, and the kids work in small groups and come up for solutions. We actually had, some of them are local, some of them are national. Northside High School actually won a national case challenge with Arby's. The junior year is all about entrepreneurship. So they had the ability to learn the case challenge, understand a problem, and now come up with viable solutions. And then the junior year, they learn about persuasion. So so they're developing a business concept, usually improve upon something that already exists, that's easier, and then persuading people that your idea is a good one. So I was at Northside High School, and these girls I would tell you, they just got my heart. They were amazing. They were somewhere on the autism spectrum, brilliant young ladies, and they said, no one has developed sensory clothing for people.
Oh, wow.
And they knew it firsthand. They knew the product that they would want to buy. So imagine these sweatshirts, and they're little sweatshirts that they zip up, and so they were kind of animal-based. So on the hood of this sweatshirt, and they are animals, so this is a rabbit, and they're weighted ears, because kind of like a weighted blanket. So you could wrap yourself around those with those ears and get that comfort. Or it was a butterfly where the wings of the butterfly are weighted, so you could wrap yourself around the comfort of that.
Right.
And this is what they knew firsthand. How you have the cords in a sweatshirt? Those they weren't edible.
Yeah,
They're
right.
chewable.
Chewable, yeah.
So that, you get a nervous habit. You
Just
just
bite your
kind of chew.
nails,
Yeah,
you
you
can
chew
say-
on it like
yeah.
you chew on a pencil. So those were built. So anyway, in March 20th and 21st, all the kids at Northside High School and the kids in 3D at Snyder will have a market day where they will present their products. And so if they actually have some to buy, you can buy it. Others of them are just conceptual.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It is. And
That's
and
pretty
you,
cool.
And
Yeah.
you think about these kids up on stage and they're being celebrated. They won.
Right. Even the speaking part of it, like they're up there speaking.
Yes,
Speaking. You're
yes.
like probably never doing that before.
No.
You're coaching them on speaking too.
Yeah.
That's so 3DE. That's well, if you guys want to look at it, it's on your website, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, that's huge. That's I mean, that is your main focus these days, right?
No, it's
No.
it's all. It's an important focus.
Yeah.
But we still believe pre-K through 12th grade, and you got to have interactions with them throughout. As you know, what they learn when they're very young matters.
It does.
And that's how you create beliefs. You create beliefs in who they are, what they can do, the rights, the wrongs, all kind of things. Those you create when they're young. So you don't want to just focus on high school because what goes on in middle school and elementary really matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We have a
Jake's coming in to share some.
It's for you.
It's for me.
Yeah, you get
I
one.
get a gift.
I know, isn't that
Oh,
nice?
I thought it was going to be a car, but this is really nice too.
And Jake just said, speaking of entrepreneurs, Tom Tittman here in town, he actually just moved, but he's still running the tea company, and it's veteran founded, but the whole premises of it is like a cool tea.
Okay.
You go to you can Tazo, all those other ones, but like this is really good quality tea, loose leaf tea. So
and it's called Sasquatch Tea Company.
Sasquatch
Oh,
Tea
what
Company.
a nice name.
And their advertising's hilarious. The way he
it?
does it, he's got a Sasquatch mask and
Oh,
all this stuff.
fun.
It's just fun, So that's yours.
Thank you.
On that topic, it's one of those things where like you want to get kids out of those four walls too. Mm-hmm. Like they're in that classroom all day sometimes. Get them over to Jay Biztown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Biztown
Yeah,
is
right.
so cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that because you have all these organizations coming in to form a town inside of a building.
Yeah. Yeah. They run an economy for a day. They apply for an interview for the jobs ahead of time. And so there's, 160 different jobs, and then they come in and they run these small businesses for the day. They are both the consumers and the producers in the day. So as a producer, they produce a product or a service, and then as a consumer, they stimulate the economy. And they elect a mayor prior to coming in. So you see the impact of government. We encourage kids to vote on a very important topic during the day.
What is the mayor's job?
Oh, they're exhausted by the end of the day. They sign a lot of documents. So, yeah. So,
Executive orders?
Yes. Yes. Like the first 100 days. Yes. No, so they actually do sign all of the thank you certificates for the volunteers. So they do a lot of signing, but they decide on the important topics that the citizens are going to vote on that day. So that's a big deal. In his opening or her opening speech, he'll or she will talk about that, and at the end of the day, they'll share what was voted on and how many people elected to take the time to vote. And so, if you didn't like the results of something, it's like you didn't spend the time, didn't take the time to go vote.
Right.
So the kids are seeing the impact very early on.
That's neat. And you have like hospitals and car dealerships, right?
I think there's a bank in
We
there.
have a couple banks because that's a very competitive marketplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Is it?
But
Yeah. So
there's
it's BizTown, but there's also the other one,
JA Finance Park.
Finance Park.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all about budgeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So you teach them about money,
money. Yes,
money
absolutely.
management,
Yes.
all that.
Write
So-
checks and stuff like that, or
Yeah. So at BizTown, they actually learn to write a check. They understand they use cash, and they also use a debit card. To me, I'm just old school. Really important to understand if you don't write a check and you don't use cash and you just use a debit card, I think you don't have a good premise for how the money
Goes in and out.
goes in and out. Yes,
Yeah.
and so
So
we
the
encourage
cash,
that.
the checks help them learn more. 'Cause
Well,
checks are almost gone now.
yeah, but so we had a scenario where, and this is funny. This is kids solving their own problems. So it's like the student goes in and they wanted to buy a trinket from this other business. Well, they didn't have any money. Apparently, it says, and I was like, well, what? I got paid, and so what do? Well, they go to the mayor because the mayor, they're in charge of the town. And the mayor goes, I don't know. So
Right.
they both then go to the bank, and then but the cashier hadn't had enough time to enter everything into the system to show that they had money yet.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun. You let the kids solve their own problems.
And they can buy their own food.
Well,
Like,
they can buy popcorn and pop.
Yeah. Yeah. That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun.
Well,
We're running up against a deadline.
Yes.
there's a quote that I wanted to bring up too, that your success quote. Do you remember it?
No.
Yeah, it was in something. I'll try to guide you to it.
Okay.
It's when you're climbing up a high mountain,
Yes.
success isn't defined how high you are. Is that right? Am I saying it right?
Keep going.
But it's who you bring with you.
Yeah.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. So the collaboration that we're talking about, I wanted to really hit that because you're collaborating with all the businesses in town. Mm-hmm. You have a board, but like you're going out and you're saying which businesses should you work with, and how do you go about that?
We want to have kids be exposed to a broad array of businesses. That's very important, So we don't want just one industry represented. We want to make sure that the kids see a variety. We want them to see the trades. We want them to see the financial. We want them to see insurance. We want them to see it all. So broad is good. And then those who are willing to say yes matters, because when someone is there because they really want to have an impact, the kids will feel it and they'll know it, and it'll be a better experience.
Right. Now the biggest news that you're going to have coming this spring. Do you want to talk about the park at all?
Well, sure.
I think the park is. Have you been out there to see it yet, Dan? Mm-hmm. It's really amazing.
We got the music going now.
Oh, you got
too.
music out there?
Oh, yeah, we do.
How long is that little walk around the pond?
It's a quarter mile.
Quarter mile? Mm-hmm. And anybody can walk it?
Yes. It's called Legacy Park, but the idea is to celebrate those who give to JA or leave a legacy gift to JA. But I'm all about stories, and I'm all about celebrating people. So the way we're doing it is we have an interactive art park on our property with art or big checkerboards or other things like that, swings, etc. And then with each piece, there's a QR code. And when you go explore in the park, you could take your phone and just quickly watch a 1-minute video on either a life lesson they wanted to share, an inspiration, or a little bit about their business, and tell their story. And those are important stories.
I love that.
Excuse me. So you're inviting the community to come, and tell us where it is.
It's on the J property, 550 East Wallen Road. June 11th, we're going to have an official ribbon cutting, and love everyone to come out. But then, as the years go, you will continue to see more art, new stories.
The legacy grows, right?
Yeah, the legacy expands, and we are filming 3 videos each time that there's a donation, so that it's never the same park. And then as you walk, there's also music being played to create some fun ambiance.
Right.
Yeah,
That's cool. And it's on the north end of town, which is nice for me. I live on the north end of town, so there's having things to do is great.
Yeah.
So junior achievement, your sales pitch. How can people find you, help you? I think that everyone cares about the youth and cares about where the tomorrow is.
Yeah. So, the wonderful thing about where the organization is today is anybody can get involved in any different way, because when you can go in and have a huge impact on a kindergarten class, or you can coach at the high school, or you can spend a half day in BizTown or Finance Park. So no matter what the time commitment you have to give, there's a way you can have an amazingly positive impact, and you'll feel good afterwards.
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for the tea.
Yeah, you know it.
I want to give a shout out to our other sponsors besides Sasquatch Tea. Excuse me, Fairfield Galleries provided the seating
Oh,
for
these are
us.
nice too.
We've been hanging onto their chairs for quite a while now. So we thank Don
you.
Polly,
Yeah.
the owner
Thank you,
of
Don.
Fairfield Galleries. Be sure to shop there for your furniture. And also Billy's dad, who helped us financially, and we appreciate that tremendously.
Yeah,
And
Corporate
Are
Holdings.
they located in Leato, right?
Yeah, XY Tool and Die's there.
XY Tool and Die, yeah.
Yeah, we're up to 9 companies now.
No way.
Plastics, metals, wiring, automation.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really
That's growing. That's
yeah, it's amazing.
exciting.
Yeah, it's been great.
yeah, that's congratulations
Thank
to you
you.
guys.
Well, again, thank you for being here. This has been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank
Bet.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Boy,